Namaste everyone. I'm Dr. Suniti Sharma from Delhi. I'm a gynecologist, a spiritual scientist, and a holistic healer. Today I'm here to share some of my understanding about what is happiness. Everyone is doing whatever they're doing, and everybody is looking for happiness. No matter in what way, in which direction they're going, and whatever they're trying to is ultimate aim is to get happy. But why is it that everybody wants happiness and nobody seems to be happy? And why is it so elusive to get happy? I would just like to share a few perspectives from the scientific point of view as well as from the spiritual point of view about happiness. So my key points of this presentation is to share my key points are um, DNA of happiness. So what is happiness? What are the levels of happiness? Why we need to be happy, and what are the factors which influence happiness? What prevents us to be happy? How to connect, enhance, and stay happy? What is the neuroscientific perspective to it, and what is spiritual perspective to it? What is true happiness, and what is a virtual happiness, and how to connect to that source of the happiness which is right within you? So, what is happiness? Happiness is a journey, it's not a destination. So it is not that we are doing everything to be happy. In fact, the happiness, if you're happy, you will create what you want in life. And it's just a state of mind out of all the different various emotions, which are like nature is the 9 types of emotions. The love and the happiness is the one which is everybody desires for. And so, what is the if we are not happy, then what is the other side of it? It's unhappiness. So the absolute truth is that everybody wants to be happy and they want to avoid suffering. But the truly sad thing is that most of the people, they are looking for happiness but doing things which are against it and not the right way, right direction they're choosing, which sabotages their own effects and own attempts for happiness. And again, it's just neural gossips, in the sense that mind creates a stories, mind with the ego self creates a stories, and that leads to different emotions, and that leads to the different feelings in your body, and that's how you become happy or you become unhappy. Again, when we blame for things in our life to people and situations and not accepting things as they are, that also creates unhappiness. Now, what are the levels of happiness? Simple, there are many levels which come under the heading of happiness. So it may be just a pleasure or maybe just contentment, in fact, like when we achieve something and we feel that kind of contentment. That's also another one kind of a happiness. And then there's a pleasure is like it depends on the outer circumstances, like maybe you had a good food, you met up with friends, or anything like that which gives you a kind of a maybe exercising, that gives you kind of a pleasure in your body. The feeling of pleasure is there, and that's, but it's again external, it's at the gross level. Then comes a joy, which is like which has a part in external and the internal both. Like for example, a mother giving birth to a child. So the joy the mother feels within is amazing experience which cannot be expressed, but it has to be felt. So the babies come out, but the mother feels the joy within. So that is a kind of a joy, and it's like, it has the both factors in it, external and internal. Then comes the true happiness, which is called this bliss, and that is sattvic, and that's only internal, and that's divine. And the main thing is how we connect to the bliss is only and only through going within. It has no outer external factors to give you that kind of a feeling within. It has to be through awareness, through meditative processes and meditation itself, that can take you to the center within, which is the bliss center. Then why we need to be happy? What are the advantages of being happy? So happy, see, we have just spoken about, like, what are our thoughts, what we think. The thoughts are nothing but it's a package of images. There are emotions, there are some feelings to it, there are some colors to it, and there are some internal talk going on, and so that is what is self-talk basically. So that is responsible for your happiness or your unhappiness. So if we consciously choose happy thoughts, that lead to the happy emotions, and which in turn lead to happy feelings, and that creates a beautiful good health. And why we need to be happy? Because your personal happiness is the best gift that you can give to the world. And happy individuals will create a happy family. Happy family will create happy societies. Happy societies will create happy nations, and that will contribute to a happy world. And also it activates the heart chakra and vice versa. Once your heart chakra is activated, you are happy. So what is happiness? How the happiness is related to health? How it can create a good health? So it's again interconnected. If you have a good health, that'll create happiness. If you're happy, that will give you a good health. So many diseases, they improve, like just by being happy. You can improve heart disease, migraines, psychosomatic diseases, arthritis, autoimmune diseases, anxiety, depression, cancer, and overall well-being it can create. And as it also increases the immunity, so it helps in getting your various diseases under remission or under control, or they improve. Just be happy. Now happy means what? It may be just maybe just a simple smile or a laughter. So a simple let me just get to the smile. A genuine smile, normally we think if somebody smiling means they're happy, but even fake smiles have a positive impact on the moods. So we can just by smiling, it increases the secretion of our happy hormones, that's endorphins and other happy hormones. It also has an effect of anti-aging, and it is anti-gravity. And now, why we say the laughter is the best medicine? Because it reduces stress, it reduces the blood pressure, and just a single hearty laughter can, the effect can last for almost 45 minutes and into your heart. And it brings glow to the skin by increasing the blood supply to your skin. And so it's such a simple formula. Just laugh it off. Laugh it off. Do a, actually what you say, hearty laugh or a belly laugh, and laugh at no reason. Laugh at yourself and just be with the spirit of joy, and that brings the whole chemistry, biochemistry of your body, and your feelings and emotions, everything gets enhanced, and you already have a gush of these positive happiness hormones in your blood, and that creates a good health and well-being again. Now the interesting thing is that the children laugh more than 40 to 50 times a day, whereas adults laugh just 4 or 5 times a day. Sad state of affairs. Now again, the Buddha said that when he got enlightened, the first teaching that he gave after enlightenment was the essence of ordinary life is suffering. And you know what the antidote he gave? Laughter. Just laugh. Particularly laugh at yourself, So that again, it lightens up everything. There are no judgments about others and yourself. There's a kind of acceptance. There's kind of a no bar to let your hormones of happiness just flow. And so it's again a choice that we can, if we choose the ignorant self, that is being with the ego self, then our ego self and with the mind, it connects us to the world and its miseries. But if we choose the awareness, and that creates a nirvana or the bliss or the state of ecstasy. Choice is yours. Now, what are the factors which influence human happiness? So there are various studies being done, and so these are some of the factors that has a bearing on your level of happiness, like whether you're male or a female, how much income you have, whether you're wealthy or poor, how are your relationships, your married life, education level, job satisfaction, health, knowledge, attitudes, your personality selves, like whether you're very accepting or you're resisting. So when you are in resistance, it's always like You're driving a car with the one foot on the accelerator and the other foot on the brake. So you are not reaching anywhere and you're resisting, not being in the flow of life. So that also creates unhappiness. Now, this is your happiness depends on your these major factors, which are not absolutely categorized into these percentages, but it's approx that our genetics count for almost 50% of our happiness state of mind, because we carry the genes from both our parents. And so some people are born very easy and happy and easy go and flowing in life, and some people are very hard. They find the happiness very elusive, and they find it so hard to just laugh and be easy with their lives and all that. So there's this 50% of genetic part, nothing much that we can do about it, because no matter, even if we try to change, it's going to bounce back again. Then 10% is your circumstances, like your relationship, your job, your wealth, your success, your all these things that you know achieving things, being successful, all these things, they count just for 10. And the rest 40% is a major chunk, which depends on our internal state of mind. And now we know that internal state of mind is very variable. It can be changed. It can be through the help of epigenetics. It can have major changes in our genetic system and in our DNA, and that we can recode our brain and our DNA for happy state of mind. And this is good news that this can be manipulated. And now, in fact, the latest thing is that we need to have the epigenetics is playing a major role, and it can really change our overall look towards life and happiness. So, how much of the wealth, or how, if you're very wealthy, are you really happy? Not necessarily, because wealth increases the happiness, but it is very short lived. And how much wealth is enough for everyone is very variable, and it's not necessary that the wealthier countries, the people are much happier. It's not like that. For example, USA, it's not, the USA doesn't come in that category of the study or the survey they have done, that the happiest countries in the world. The USA is not on the top. It is somewhere in the middle, and even India is in the middle. But the topmost countries are like New Zealand, Switzerland, Sweden, Iceland. These are those countries where they have the happiest people. And so maybe the reason could be because in these countries like USA, uh, the finding of happiness, the approaches towards outer things, the gross things, that material things. If we have a beautiful house, if we have the beautiful big cars and things like that, then we'll be happy. And that is again an illusion. It leads, for some time it keeps you, makes you happy, but after that it really, again, they feel emptied. So there's a new term called gross national happiness, which was started in the country of Bhutan, which is supposed to be the highestly happy level of happiness in their people. And so now it is better if we, we should judge, or we should label the countries as happiest or not the happiest through the GNH. Okay. And so success again, it leads to positive emotions, and so that again gives you happiness, and vice versa. And if the people are happy, they are bound to be more successful, and because they're more confident, they're more optimistic, they're more energetic, and they're more likable and sociable. Now, what is a neuroscientific perspective of happiness? So everyone we know wants to be happy, but most of people are not. So good news is it's very easy to be happy if only you know how to be happy. So there are 4 intrinsic hormones which determine the human happiness. They are oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. And these are the they come in the spurts. They are not having a sustained level within our blood, but in our biochemistry in our body, but they can be stimulated. And once they're stimulated, so we need to work in a way that instead of getting them in spurts and feeling happy, then depressed, then elated, and then again, like the various levels of our emotional outbursts in the whole day. Sometimes we are low, sometimes we are high. Instead of that, to how to have the sustained level of these hormones of happiness, and that is possible. So these are again the happy hormones, which are secreted in our brain, most of it in our pituitary. So what are endorphins? They are called the pain-killing molecules, and they're like natural painkillers. And like when you hearty laugh, or when you it's exercising, not a low-pace exercise, but a good average exercising, it releases the endorphins. And then also like spicy food, and we may feel that spice is really creating a lot of heat in our body and things, but somehow it gives you kind of a pleasure. It kind of gives you kind of a happiness. And again, like acupuncture, the needles, when you stimulate those acupuncture points with a needle, it has little bit of pain, but that again stimulates the secretion of the endorphins. So like, just for example, like a person who's a runner, and on the way to his running, he twists his in a competition or something, that he twists his ankle or a foot, but he will not stop. He will not stop till he has reached to his finishes his run, because of the endorphins. That pain is masked, and that gives you kind of feeling of high. It gives you kind of feeling of a pleasure. So this is again the work of the endorphins. Then comes the dopamine. So dopamine is also called as a reward or the motivation molecule. So this is released when we accomplish any task, whether it's a small or a big task, or we get appreciated at home, at workplace, and it motivates you, to do even better. So that's why most of the women at home who are housewives, they don't feel very happy, because they're not appreciated enough. So once we join, buy anything new, and we just even shopping and buying new gadgets and things, so again that you feel dopamine high. And so it's like, how does the dopamine gets generated? Create small goals for yourself and achieve them and celebrate. That's how the dopamine high you can be at all the time. Then comes the serotonin. Serotonin is also called the confidence molecule. And so this serotonin is released when our actions, they benefit others. So like when it's not just we're doing things for ourselves, but we're transcending ourselves to help others. And it may be small little things like somebody wants you to do a Google search for them, or just writing a blog for them, or in some way you're just extending beyond yourself, and giving back to the nature, giving back to the society. That's how the serotonin is increased. And I think now most of us, we're aware that serotonin, if it's less, it leads to depression. So most of the people with depression, they have low level of serotonin. So also there's some other way how you can increase the serotonin. And now oxytocin. So oxytocin is called the bonding molecule, also called the love hormone. So when you show your love in terms of hugging a child or your partner, it really, that automatically that this oxytocin is secreted. It's a love hormone. So wherever you're expressing your love, and so that increases your levels of oxytocin, and that gives you kind of a happiness within. So let's see, what is a happiness formula. Everybody says be happy, remain happy, choose happiness, but it becomes quite a task to be constantly being aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, how you're behaving, what is your attitude, and what's your belief behind it, and things like that. So it becomes really a sometimes a task. So, but the simple formula is like, accomplish small goals, dopamine. Help or be nice to others, serotonin. Hug our kids and partner, spend time with friends and families, oxytocin. And be happy. When we are happy, we can deal with our challenges and problems in life much better. Now, is happiness is in your DNA? Coming to the topic of this presentation is the DNA and happiness. So we need to understand that happiness is again, we have seen it's 50%, almost 50% is happiness is dependent on our DNA, the genetics, what we are carrying, what we have received from our parents, and the whole of our ancestral tree, in fact, because all of our ancestors are within our own hands. In every cell of our body, we're carrying their energy, we're carrying their beliefs, we're carrying their emotional levels and everything, the emotional DNA. We all are carrying all those things which we are not even aware of. So we think that what can we do? We are just born with that, but actually you can do a lot. So start questioning your beliefs, whether this belief is working for me or not. So that is again a work of the epigenetics. Like, if the things are not working for us, let's do something else. So then you have your behavioral choices, like the attitudes, your attitude towards life, your attitudes about how you deal with situations in life. So how can I choose something different, and choose what will create the happiness and not the other way around? Then what happens is that, they have scientifically studied that if there's a DNA is methylated, so that suppresses the happiness genes. And those happiness genes are something like, it's like a chewing gum. When you have it, covers the tooth, so you are not able to chew it directly. The tooth is all right, but there's a chewing gum on that. So same things, like when there's a methylation of the DNA, it doesn't allow the happiness gene to express itself. So when you have that's how it happens. People who had bad childhood trauma, mental, physical, or emotional traumas, they have this DNA of happiness is there, but it gets methylated, and that does not allow it to express. But again, the good news is that with help of epigenetic and different energetic healing modalities, that can be reactivated. Now, the interaction between the genes and the environment is responsible for the feeling of happiness. So it's not only the genes, but also the environment. So together, they create the feeling of happiness. So there are a few genes we have found, the scientists have found, they have actually able to spot those genes which are responsible for the happiness in our DNA. And the people who have these genes, they're definitely happier souls. So we are born with the happiness genes. Some are born easy, some difficult, but practices like meditation can trigger the activation of these happiness genes. And epigenetics, of course, it helps a lot, great deal, to develop a outlook of life which will stimulate our happiness genes. So now so much studies have been done and so much research has been done, and the scientists are able to locate. There's so many different genes specific for different hormones. So some of the examples like DRD2 is for dopamine, HDR1 is for endorphins, like that. So there are many genes have been located, but mind you, not just one gene is not responsible for one issue. There are many genes related to a same issue, like for a heart disease. There may be many genes which are responsible for the heart disease to to create the heart disease, and accordingly you can change your genetics by your epigenetics, and you can suppress those genes if you're aware of them, and activate the genes of the good health. Now what is the epigenetics? It's not our destiny. What we think that DNA is our destiny, that everything we are the victims of our destiny because it is all in our DNA. What can we do? It's not so. Actually, now it's time that we need to take charge of our lives, and the new science of epigenetics, we can rewrite our destiny by changing the rules of the disease, changing the genetics, changing the identity based on the epigenetics, uh, those fundamentals that have come up recently. And so now what we see is the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is the genetics, and the huge submerged part of the iceberg is the epigenetics. And you can direct your genes by changing your thoughts, changing your beliefs, changing your emotions, and that will activate your happiness genes. Then using the consciousness techniques, and especially with intention, that's the most powerful package. That you with your meditative meditation with awareness and intention can actually change your beliefs. Also, when you pray with feelings and emotions, when you change your emotional states using EFT and other methods, and which ultimately reduces the stress, because stress is one of the main factors for your unhappiness, because it does not allow the expression of those happy genes. And the stress, because of the stress, there is a secretion of cortisol, adrenaline, and that which is the also the source of the DHEA, and that is a hormone secreted from the same space where the cortisol is. But if the cortisol continues to be high, then it will eat up your organs, your body system, and it will keep into the chronic fight or flight state, and it will not allow the expression of the healthier and the happier genes. So if you need to relax more, and for allowing this happiness genes to express themselves. And then our beliefs run our life and affects our health and longevity. So if we believe that we are born unhappy, so nothing can be done, so it will be affecting your health and longevity accordingly, and you will experience the same thing in the world, in your day-to-day life, based on those beliefs, because your beliefs run your life. So what you think, what you feel, what you believe, that changes your genetic expression, and also the chemical composition of your body on a moment to moment basis, because every stimulus from outside has an effect continuously. Our genes are going off and on, off and on, off and on. So it's like every moment we need to choose awareness, and choose with awareness the choice of choosing happiness. What is neuroplasticity? So we were born, so many years we have been taught, the brain cells cannot change. You've been born with that predisposition and things like that. So, but now it's basically the neuroplasticity is the science is realizing that certain changes in your environment, the outer and the inner environment, by different thinking, by different choices we make, it can actually, the neural network in the brain, they start changing, and even to the extent of some new neural pathways have been created. When you try to develop a habit of happiness by choosing happiness, they will change and create a new neural network. So of course it takes time, because through practice and repetition, and but we can still learn new things, new habit creation and things like that, and that will, your whole brain can be changed again. What is the psychology of happiness? So what kind of psychology, a lot of people, psychologists are working on this key, how can you make people depressed who are depressed into happy people? So it's it's again a lot of intrinsic and extrinsic factors are there, and those differences of our psychological makeup is right in our DNA. So, but that doesn't stop it here, and it doesn't mean that it will remain so. So, the people who are able to make their own decisions and create a life the way they want, their dreams, their desires. So they feel they're supposed, they look to be happier people. But you can also depending on your psychological makeup, you can choose different vocations, you can choose a different even your higher purpose of life. That also is being coded in our DNA. So if you want to release that or decode them, choice is ours. We can do it. Good news is that. So what obstructs are connecting to the source of happiness within us? So again, going back to the same, our thoughts, our beliefs, our mind patterns, our compulsive traits, and our reptilian brain, that is the limbic system, which is the center of the emotions, of center of fight or flight to any life situations. So that is, the security and things like that. They were looking for those things. Immediately any situation comes, we are frightened for survival. So these things again, they disconnect us, because that's our instinctive basic self, and we need to release that to see beyond and go to the new cortex or the new brain, which gives you a new understanding and seeing things from different perspective, and choose differently. So just like a muddy water, you cannot see your own reflection, and the same thing is when we sit down, we meditate, the thoughts start getting settled, and the muddiness goes away, the clouding of the sky clears away, and we are able to see through clearly. And that's how we just see the emotions, they're just energy in motion, and just by an awareness, by witnessing it, we can actually see the source within, which is the source of the happiness. So what enhances our connection to the source of happiness? True happiness is found within. So stop searching for it anywhere outside and start living from within. So by choosing happiness, developing the habit of happiness with awareness, mindfulness, meditation, there's no other way. That's a must. Then you can also use some visualizations, and those visualizations every day about 10 minutes also, if you do, and you visualize yourself that happy being and doing things happily, and the happiness is coming back to you, and you're surrounded with loving people, and all that visualizations can also help. Compassion and kindness, forgiveness and love, these are basic heart-centered emotions which are so so important. So, and then again, we can take the help of neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy to change the habit of unhappiness and develop a habit of happiness. So what are the role of consciousness or visualization? So like the scientifically, they've seen that there are different parts in the brain which get lightened up, and there are different spots in the brain where they have this if you're happy, a different area of the brain starts getting lightened up, and if you're sad, the different areas get lightened up. So they have, so you're not really um, you know trying to displace anything, but you're just trying to activate those areas which are healthy for you, which creates a happiness for you. So how can we stay connected to the source of happiness? So there's no way out than meditation. So meditation, a simple meditation of anapanasati, like what Patriji has been teaching us, and mindfulness of practices, and make a list, like when you're unhappy, so what you need to do to change that, shift that emotion of unhappiness. So what is it that can, to the next possible better level of emotion that you can get hold of, in order to feel a little bit towards joy, and then slowly towards bliss, or towards a next level of happiness. So it's like, we have the whole range of emotions, from the apathy to grief to fear to anger to moving towards a courageousness, the acceptance and the unconditional love. So, and that's a state when you start feeling really happy from within. Then choose happiness every moment. Yes, you can choose happiness. Every moment gives you an opportunity to do that. So laugh more often, have a belly laughter, laugh at no reason, laugh at yourself, have a spirit of joy. It brightens up everything. Exercising, yoga, dancing, whatever brings a pleasure, and that will again multiply and lead you to happiness. Changing the perspective, the pain is inevitable but suffering is optional. So changing the basic attitude towards life. Then linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, EFT for emotional management. These things all can help us to enhance and to sustain that level of happiness. Acceptance creates happiness. So if we keep on, like we talked before, if we are driving and we're putting one foot on the accelerator, the other one on the brakes, so we are not going to reach anywhere. So just be in the flow, be in acceptance of everything, and in this moment, how can I respond the best way? And so this is the short formula of happiness: complete acceptance of this moment, because this moment is the only moment which has the power, not bringing into stories of past and not worrying about the future. So bring back to this present moment. That's how the meditation helps us to connect to this moment and to feel happy. Is happiness a choice? Yes, of course. It is a choice. We can choose to be happy, we can choose to be unhappy. So our brains are not wired for long lasting happiness, but with meditation, with awareness, we can always choose happiness to rewire our brains, and slowly there will be different connections will open up which will help you to remain in that long lasting happiness. So now a spiritual perspective to it. The source of happiness is within us. So what's the true nature? The true nature is Sat Chit Ananda. Means we are the truth, we are the consciousness, we are the bliss. And when we are into that center of Ananda, and that is our core, and that is where we feel that bliss and ecstasy. So who we are, the first thing first, let's correct the equation of life first. So we are magical beings, and who as co-creator with God constantly keep creating with every thought, belief and emotion. So whatever we're having in life at this moment, we need to understand it's all our creation, whether good or bad. It shows up, but it is our creation. The good thing is that we can uncreate it and choose something else. So we need to take responsibility for our creation and stop blaming others. And we are the miraculous beings. The sources within and external sources can never bring us long lasting happiness, for sure. The only way of is connecting to our source within, that we can remain happy all the time, unconditioned by any external conditions. So it's like, people, like everybody wants happiness. They look for the happy um, uh, chemicals being produced when they have been doing certain things in certain way all the way in their life, including even addiction to alcohol, addiction to any kind of addiction. Also the baseline is that happiness, they want to re-experience that, but they're not looking at the right way to receive it or to activate it or to um, connect to that happiness. So once that dose of that alcohol or the drugs they finish off, then they again uh, desiring for the same happiness again and again, but a wrong way. So it's like we to consciously cultivate and enhance the happy hormone secretion in a more stable way, and by developing a new habits. And new habits are like, it takes any habit to be cultivated. It needs little patience, it needs perseverance, it needs um, because it takes around 45 days to create any new habit, but we can start taking small steps in order to achieve that. And consistency is of course important. So what is true happiness? True happiness is enjoying your own company and living in peace and harmony with your body, mind and soul. It's a state of mind constantly being in love with yourself without the need of other people or materialist things. and a sense of purpose and meaning of life. And what is bliss or ananda? So ananda is the highest state achieved when there is no mind state. That's what happens when we meditate. Slowly we have the awareness with the breath, and slowly the breath becomes shorter and shorter, and suddenly there's a stoppage, automatic stoppage, and that's the point when there is no mind. And the individual consciousness, our ego self, that gets merged with the universal consciousness of oneness. Anandamaya kosha is when it's activated, is how we get the bliss, and meditation and breath work helps to activate that Anandamaya kosha, and one feels experience of being one with the source, and that's the ultimate bliss, because that is not individual level, it's become like a universal consciousness of oneness. And so this is what is the highest state that we all actually looking for and don't know how to go about it. Even if we know, we just keep postponing it. We just do the we just postpone and just keep trying to you know, okay, one day I'll start meditating, one day I will do this, and we don't know, because when we sit down, close our eyes, and we think what's happening, actually nothing's happening. But in that nothing is happening, also a lot is happening. We don't understand that. So we need to start, take the first step, and then the sources within. The meaning of life is again depends on your psychological predisposition, your DNA having you know, for the asking for the higher purpose of life. So it's a small story. I think most of us must be familiar in some version or other of this. You know, this is an ancient Sufi story that the angels, when the time started, the whole universe was made, human being was made, and so were created. So they were discussing where to put the meaning of life, and so they were saying, okay, we'll put it on the top of the mountain, or we'll put it under the sea, or we'll put it, you know, they just, everybody's giving the different explanation for it. And then suddenly one angel said, okay, let's put it in the inside the heart of a human being, where nobody will look it, and will be very safe, and only the person who really seeks for it only will find it. So that's how it is, that we have to find the meaning, the higher purpose of life, why we're here, because this life is very precious. With so much difficulty we find we have got this human life, as even Buddha says, and so easily we let go of it, and we don't make the best use of it. So reorienting ourselves, reprogramming our brain, reprogramming our inner system, we need, or we feel aligned to our higher purpose, and the way to connect is meditation. So ultimately everybody wants happiness and peace, and because that's our true nature. So how does the meditation and happiness are connected? We now know the biggest obstacle to our happiness is mind with its thoughts and beliefs. How can we control the mind? Mind is very space. It's like space. It's very difficult to control it. But we can give it an anchor. So the best anchor would be breathing, because it's natural. We all breathe. We all alive, and that's how the when mind connects to the breathing, and you know, it balances your inhalation and exhalation. Just being with the anapanasati, what we are doing is that we just being one with the inhalation and one with the exhalation. So following the breath, we reach to a no mind state. The mind and ego dissolves, and we are in connection with the source, and that's the source of bliss. So there are no neural gossips there, no stories remain. Our sense organs and organs of action are greater than our body. The mind is greater than the um, senses. I'm sorry. So intellect is greater than the mind, and the self is greater than the intellect. So mind should always be under the control of the intellect, and to absorb the mind with the breath is the best remedy for this monkey mind. So once totally absorbed in that breathing, it can keep functioning without even affected, and no single breath should go unnoticed. And so when we are doing that, when we are so aware of every breath, so it can increase our longevity, because number of breaths are very much calculated, as our ancient rishis also said. that your life depends on how many breaths you have. So when we do this practice of mm, pranayama, a kind of anapanasati also is a kind of that practice where slowly our breath goes ultimately, ideally, it should reach to something like in a automatic way to 2 to 3 breaths a minute. So that is the state where external breathing doesn't really have to be there. I've experienced that, and many other people, the meditators, have experienced that. And so what happens is once you are external breathing stops, and it starts also automatically, but the internal breathing continues, and that is the one which we are longing for, because that's eternal. Your the prana which is pure prana and not connected with mind. So that leads to longevity, happiness, bliss, and everything looks so easy, everything looks so beautiful. There's total acceptance, there's total flow, and it's ultimate happiness. So I think we all are familiar. This is the last message I would like to give. Is we're familiar with this figure called laughing Buddha. So there are two very important things here. One is have a hearty laughter or a belly laughter, not just breathing from top of your lungs. So it should be full 4 quadrant breathing. But if nothing that you can think that way or do that way, just allow your tummy to come up when you inhale, and when you exhale it should go down inside. And that's a way it'll help to create the abdominal breathing, that will help to stimulate your lower dantian, and that is a concentrated source of your prana. So just it'll help to balance your prana. It'll help to connect to your anandamaya kosha faster, and the anandamaya kosha is the innermost covering where our core is. So that anandamaya kosha, one is touched with breath work, with meditation, with the heart, the abdominal breathing. That is the state which leads us to ecstasy and bliss and samadhi, and the whole process of cascading this starts on that way. So I would close it here. Thank you so much.